My name is Amy Bogard.
And I'm Mike the Hobbit.
And we are the hosts of Deeply Upsetting, where we use our expertise to answer your most upsetting hypothetical quandaries, such as, what non-winged animal deserves wings?
And what body part deserves a secret mouth?
Which cryptid is the worst roommate?
These questions and more that plague you will be answered on Deeply Upsetting, available anywhere you get your podcasts and at GUIPodcast.com. The views and opinions expressed on Geekfather are those of the panelists and not those of the Geeks Under the Influence Network, their affiliates, or sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. This is for the parents and not for the kiddies.
Geekfire!
Can you try one more time? Say Geekfather real loud.
Geekfire way out! I just did it.
And welcome back, guys. That's right. It's a brand new edition of the Geekfathers. Kyle Smash, myself, Scotty P, bringing all the trials and tribulations to this geeky parenting world that we get trapped in, and if we're still trapped. Pandemic, quarantine.
It is getting better. Hello, everyone.
It is better, but yes, Smash, how are you, sir?
I'm good.
Good, man.
Yeah, very good. All vaxxed.
Yes.
And, ready to live.
I think officially GUI, as we build or start crawling out of these holes of Zoom meetings for recording and stuff, the GUI family itself we're all basically vaccinated, I believe, at this point. We're just making sure we're finishing out any 2-week quarantine time to do this, so hopefully there will be still being safe about it, but there will be some more physical recording, which should make it more fun. That's just more fun for us. Whether the listeners hear the difference, I don't know. Hopefully they do, and it'll be better for everybody.
Yeah, it's a different dynamic, different energy, for sure.
Well, you could read the other person better. Like, I can see you, but if we have a weird delay on Zoom, we're just like, what was he saying? What?
Right.
But we're at the table together, we could just roll. We feed off the energy. It's smoother ride, if you will. So.
I mean, sometimes my brain, your brain will freeze mid thought. Just like you're saying something, and all of a sudden it's. I've even done that when I've disciplined my kid. Was like, I'm in the middle of saying something, and then I'm like, I had a point. And you kind of get that far, like, all right, this is going south.
Very true.
Just go upstairs.
Very true. And that brings up a lot of stuff that we've talked about in the past with just being geeky parenting. It's not all fun and games, unfortunately. We've had to crack that whip, and it just, it's a struggle because no parent loves to discipline their kid. So before we really do, because we were just talking about that, talking about what we're doing for the episode and everything before we actually hit the record button, let's actually do something. Let's stay posy as best as we can. Got to get that posy core going. Think of the pumping action of the music. I don't hear music right now. I'm just trying to give you a visual for hearing something. A visual for a podcast. Remember that, folks. The contradiction of terms.
Yeah.
And
that should be on a t-shirt.
The next Geekfathers t-shirt design, we'll have someone come up with something. So remember that. Write that down, kids.
Well, it's funny. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes you're in the middle of saying something, and you have a good point, even as a parent, and you say so, it's like, wait, what did I say? Like, son, I'm tired.
Oh yes, very much so, very much so. But I figure we should make sure we get some geeky parenting stories out of the way. Definitely this is where we got a chance to either brag on our kids or just brag on a cool story that we've seen where other parents are doing, definitely following along on the same page. So Smash, I'll try to let you open that up, see what you got first. Anything there?
I just have a proud parenting story today. There's actually not a whole lot out there in terms of things that I mean, you can research, but you have to go pretty far back.
The articles are getting older and older right now.
I don't see a lot of new content. So unfortunately, in terms of anything like that, there's seems to be a little less positive out there in that term. So I will say, from a personal level, my kid sang at sort of, I guess, pep rally for the kids
Mm-hmm.
assembly, and she did it virtually, and she did a beautiful job.
Nice.
And then she got, I guess, invited to do it again. So that, you know, and just in terms of like, when I was her age, I never had the guts. I loved to sing, and I was in like chorus and choir, but I was always in the back.
Right.
You know, so that was just, you know, I'm very proud of her. She's not afraid to put herself out there.
No, that's cool.
I've tried to teach her not to, you know, respect other people, but necessarily you don't have to worry about what everybody thinks. Just be yourself.
Yeah. No, and that'll be a continual conversation later on, especially during the teenage years and stuff like that as well. There'll be so much that comes from that, and this is a great starting point for that, you know. So it's more power to her. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. So I'm very proud.
Man.
Proud dad.
Good. And mine is basically the same thing, because again, just having trouble finding some, you know, just real positive stuff happening here. Because I mean the media loves negativity. We all know that in a general sense. So that's why I say it's hard to find these articles and everything. So mine comes basically from a proud papa moment as well, where it's nothing really too specific. Because if anybody who knows, it's been a crazy week around the Preston household anyways. The wife went out of town to handle some business and different things like that. She's back home now, fortunately. But when she's gone, you know, it's a lot of single parenting with two rambunctious little children there. And it's one of those things where it's a proud parent moment, but it's one of those where I'm just like, ooh, it's going to come back and bite me at the same time. It's when you have multiple children and they get along so well that they actually collaborate against you in a fun way, but still as a parent, you're like, shit, they're ganging up on me.
Yeah,
you
especially
know,
if you have more than one.
Yeah,
they're definitely they're working against you for something.
Exactly.
At some point.
Exactly. So, and because Leland has really come into his own since he turned 4 earlier this year, and Logan's always been a great big brother. So for them, they play their games. They've got their ways that they both do stuff. They still argue, but the energy that Leland brings to it and the guidance that Logan does with that pair is amazing. And I couldn't be happier the way they get along for siblings. I mean, I know some siblings that, you know, they'll always have arguments, and I'm expecting chaos during the teenage years of them butting heads, I'm sure. But at the same time, some of those siblings I've seen growing up where they don't even talk to each other for years. You know, if they do, it's very... It's not even nice. It's like, hey, we're here. Cool. Leave me alone. You know, and that's basically it. And I'm just like, how do you have that type of relationship with your sibling? That is so difficult for me, because you've gone along with your brothers. Mm-hmm. I have my one brother, and I mean, there were, again, a couple of the moments in those teenage years where things were difficult. But we got along. We had mutual friends. You know, we shared friends. We shared a lot of stuff growing up. It was just the way we functioned. And to each their own how things got to work. But to some, it's so foreign the way you grow up with it, though. When it's such a distance, if you will, on how things are. So, I mean, that's, you know, rolling from the proud parenting to the old man tangent on stuff. It's just... It's crazy.
No, that kind of leads into. I mean, that kind of leads into. It's a lot of it can reside on because of the parents, in terms of how they dealt with, you know, either child, you know, or all of them, whether it was the same or there was different levels because of ages. You know, however you got to work that out, and I guess it all depends on how you parented. You know, that can really. I'm not going to say that's 100% everything,
right?
You know, but it's definitely a huge chunk.
Exactly.
You know, how you discipline one. You know, having one kid versus like 2 kids or 3 kids. You know,
big difference.
You know, I'm the youngest of 3. You know, and we were raised by a single mom, so it's like she was pretty tough, but she treated us all the same. We were lucky that she loved us all the same, which helped.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and again, more power to your moms on stuff like that. I mean, it's definitely different from where I came from, but at the same time, you know, I guess the closest I can say is that for a long time in my younger years, my father traveled so much for work, he wasn't home most of the time. So there was about 80 to 90% of the time, my mom was basically a single parent. Because this was also back in the 80s, so it wasn't like he was necessarily flying everywhere. He was having to drive. It wasn't that type of travel business. He
Didn't have
was
a cell phone.
Yeah, no cell phones, nothing like that. So it wasn't like a quick call just to put the other parent on speakerphone and yell at your kids for doing something. And it was no, she had to take the brunt of it herself. So it's crazy what they had to do.
Yeah,
I mean
that's sacrifices they have to make.
Yeah.
You don't tend to understand until you become a parent,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My brother and I had no idea. But that's, in some ways, is what I think kind of helped build that relationship later. Because even later when we got disciplined, we were close enough to where if we got in trouble together, we were able to conspire together as well.
Right.
That was one of those things where it was just like, oh, man, like, one of the few times we actually got sent to our rooms without dinner because I don't even remember what we did, but it was drastic enough to really piss off my mom enough. My brother smuggled us apples. We had to smuggle an apple to our bedroom, and he was like, here, because she's like actually serious this time about us not eating dinner. It was one of those rare times, but we were able to work together, even under disciplinary action. It was a weird moment, and that's even back then before quarantine and pandemic times.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's just, well, not unfortunately, that's just the name of the game. That's the name of being a parent. Right. At least any parent worth their salt's gonna, or worth their weight is going to, worth their weight is going to essentially sacrifice whatever they need to sacrifice, even personally, to make sure that their kid grows up happy and healthy. And if you got more than one, you got to give more of yourself.
Yeah, it's true.
But they can rely on each other. I grew up, having two older brothers. The middle brother I was closer with, and we tried to pull more shit because he was only 2 years older than me.
Right.
So we were a lot closer there. We fought a lot more. We definitely got into it a lot more.
Yeah.
But on the, as a single kid, like there is none of that. So
exactly.
Sometimes you tend to bump heads more with your kid.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's the whole thing is that where, as being the younger sibling as well, there were, and it was never intentional. Let me say, because that was one of the biggest arguments I always heard from my brother was like, well, I didn't get to do that type argument that he would try to say. No, the parents learned with the first or even the second to the, like in your case, down to the third, they learned certain ways or certain strategies on how to handle stuff. So where we were the quote unquote, we were the babies of the family, it may have seemed like we got it easier, but more was actually relied upon us because they knew more what they were doing and when they told us to do chores or, anything related to other than having fun. We actually had more of a responsibility because, they had a better idea of what to look for. It really is one of those where I feel like that's, yes, some things may have been somewhat easier because you also had other situations where parents weren't reacting the same way, especially in disciplinary type situations, where they learned that they remember that they reacted one way with an older child and were like, no, that didn't really work very well. Let's try reacting this way.
Right.
And even later on, it's still a learning curve, even with the youngest. I'll say that much. Because I've experienced that too, with mine.
Well, a lot of that's how much time you spend with your kid now. I think we've said it I've said it probably a million times by now. Is that
we've said it almost every episode, I think, at this point for the past year.
So if you don't know, now you'll know. Is basically parents, I don't think it's necessarily natural for a parent to spend that much time with their kid. They have to go out and experience the world and socialize, and it takes a village. It does.
Very true.
But at the same time, you have to get creative, especially in the way that you discipline. I read a really good article from and I'm going to mess up the name, so I'll just give you the acronym, was the APA.org website, American Psychological Association. And essentially it was just a decades-long study in showing the differences in corporal punishment versus other or alternative forms of punishment. And, by corporal can mean anything. It's not something that...
shall we say, not torturing or beating, but more physical punishment.
Well, just really. And most kinds of physical or, that sort of corporal punishment, where it's not really teaching them, necessarily.
Right.
That's where the alternative comes in, which is, of course, more in like the grounding side or taking away certain things, just certain other avenues so that they understand what they did was wrong. Whereas in corporal punishment, they showed where it could hinder the development of the frontal lobe, especially like the gray matter within it. It can, there's certain things that can rewire the brain, and not necessarily in a healthy way.
Yeah.
So, for me, I will always say, like, it just made me think in terms of how I discipline my kid, and I'm not perfect, at times I get frustrated.
Especially on a subject like this, nobody does all of it perfectly.
Well, no, you're trying to figure it out. And hope that you're making the right decisions. And, my kid has a lot of enough devices and things to take away.
Oh, yes.
Or things, like whatever camp in the summer that she's super excited to go to. I could take that away if I need to. You give them, and I always say, like, you have to earn these things, and they earn them, but they can still lose them. So
Absolutely.
That tends to work well. But even I get frustrated, and I'm saying to I'm walking downstairs, and I'm like, oh, I love her, but I love my kid, but you're an asshole.
Oh, I'll cuss all day long about something going on, but.
I feel bad because I'm sure there are times, like, she's definitely, my kids probably like heard it and went, what?
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Where you're just walking away and you're going, I love her.
I do love my child. I do love my child. You're it's like your own little mantra, as you're like sitting in a corner somewhere just going, I do love my child.
Well, yeah, you have to take a breath and think for a minute to collect yourself so you can properly discipline versus punishment.
Exactly.
Versus punishing them.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe even call it a change of the times as well, because even in that study you said it was for the past decade, and even in the past decade there's more, and I say this in a very general term because, again, anybody can always pull out a specific story to contradict or devil's advocate for this. There's more availability on physical items, like video, like for my kids, the video games, camps. There's more accessibility for stuff to take away. Like, even where I guess financially, how we grew up, we didn't have everything, but we got enough to get by. But there was still, like, sure, there was just, you have a cadre of toys, but I'm talking about more like the video games, just those certain items that were just a slightly higher level of to the kids.
Well, because it wasn't in abundance,
right?
That's for sure. Like, you couldn't download games. Like, if you wanted to get a game, you couldn't download.
Yeah, there was no movie. We didn't even know what downloading would have meant back then for an Atari.
You had to go to whatever local movie video store there was before and during the Blockbuster times.
Oh yes. Yes.
We had when I was growing up, we had a small family one, like, owned one right down the street from where I lived, and it was like Video Time.
Yeah.
And it was small. Actually, Groots' collection may be like bigger than this place
I'm sure.
was. But they had shit I couldn't get. And that was like my thing. So, my mom knew, like, if I screwed up, like, we weren't going. I'm like, no.
I know, take that away. Wow. But I want to make sure, like, just on that specific point where I feel like for us as parents now, it's actually easier to be less corporal punishment for disciplinary actions, where we can more so negotiate. And my personal favorite is to try to sit down and, right now, Logan's the hardest about it sometimes. You just got to kind of feel it out when it happens. But I talk to him. I try to sit there and be like, hey, and just break it down. I mean, granted, he's about to turn 7. So there's only so many or so elaborate ways of you can explain a situation. So you just break it down to, you did this. It doesn't work that way. You got to do it this way, or we'll find a mutual meeting somewhere in the middle to so that it works for us, you know? Yeah. And that's my favorite way to approach it, because when it comes down to it, when he's all said and done with the screaming and he's mad and he's just not going to listen to anybody and going to argue, when he sits there and listens, like, you see the click in his brain of, yeah, okay. And he may do the completely wrong thing again because he's 6. But you're like, dude, remember the conversation we had? Yeah, okay. And you see things start turning around the way they should be. Those random screaming matches or other situations that could happen, it's like they learn that way, but at the same time, are they actually learning it, or are they just fearing on some repercussion for something that they're doing?
Oh, definitely both.
Yeah. So, you know, that's
probably
my point. Yeah.
Yeah. But you that's what consistency gets you.
Right.
You have to be consistent. I mean, that's one thing I have learned as a parent, is to try to be as consistent as possible. Look, I mean,
absolutely.
I raise my voice. I have a loud voice, just in general. If you've ever talked to me in person, you know that I speak loud. You know, and so, and I'm also, you know, I'm tall and I'm bald, you know, so I have like, it can seem intimidating. So
right.
For my kid, you know, for a 9-year-old girl, it's like I have to try and make sure I can tone that down. I don't always, especially when they get, especially as the older they get, and they can twist things back on, or, you know, talk back.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Like, oh, you know,
yeah.
So, you know, I have to make sure I try to remember that, I don't have to be loud to be heard. You know, I have to try to find a way to, like, you know, calm it down. And I don't always succeed. I didn't, you know, I probably didn't succeed today, you know. She probably got upset, and, you know, I was like, just go away for a while, go upstairs, you know, that sort of thing. And I wasn't perfect to deal with. It's like a, you know, it's a learning curve. It's a learning, there's a steep learning curve.
It totally is. And it's always funny to look at, like, the jokes online, but even Jennifer has said she's like, no, you got your dad voice where you're not necessarily louder, but you sort of go, it's a different octave and everything. It goes like a little bit lower, and it bellows more. Not like, I don't want to say it gets loud, but it bellows more. Like, it's more.
Well, it projects
more. There you go. Better word for that.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so many times I've had to, like, the dad voice makes a difference. It really does.
It does. It could be good or bad difference too. Like, it could be too much, too loud, too often to where it triggers something, or it could be, you know, just enough to do what it needs to do, or you're not doing it enough.
Yeah.
You know. So when you do it, it's going to be, you know.
I like to think that
it might be that much more.
I like to think that it stayed positive in our house, only because I could sit there and call for my children. Yeah. Use the dad voice and call for my children, and that they actually respond to the dad voice when it changes. They're not running and hiding, like crying or something when they hear it. So to me, that's a step in the right direction, as far as I can tell. Right. You know, hopefully.
When you start down here, and it's like, hey, can you go ahead and get your stuff ready, and so on and so forth. Like, it's time for school, and then then the second time comes around. It's already been like,
and it
10
changes
minutes,
a little bit, like, even then.
And then you're like, I need you to get your stuff together and get to, you know, for school.
Yep.
And you come back, and it's like, school starts in 5 minutes, and it's already been 5 minutes, and school starts in 5 minutes. You're like, you walk up and you go, well, you know, in your mind, you're going, I can see literally nothing is done. Like, nothing is just, you know, she's got 5 minutes, or, you know, that sort of thing. And you're like, get your stuff,
yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
And it's like, you know, you get to that, and they're just like, you know, and that's just kind of being a parent. My mom had to yell at me all the time, you know, just to be like, hey, would you please get your shoes? And it's like, I don't know where they are. What do you mean you don't know? You just had them on. Not, you know, I don't know where they are. And then 15 minutes pass, and then, like, You come back and like, I can't find them. And they're like, and of course the parent every time, it happens to me a million times. I get up and I go, they're right there.
Oh yeah.
All I had to do, I stood up and I see them behind get them.
Yeah. I tell my children, our house is only but so big. There's only so many places they can be. And I guarantee the first place that they're going to be is always in our hallway. Because as soon as we walk in that door, unless they're going straight out to the backyard, those shoes are being kicked off into the hallway. Because I'm going to say that's just a habit from another parent that's in this house, not from me. But I won't mention names.
Right.
And the shoes are just kicked in the hallway. And then they're like, well, where are my shoes? Well, I didn't move them. Where did you put them?
Uh-huh.
Hello? I mean, it's like...
I have the same thing. I had a thing by the door. And, as soon as you come in, if you take your shoes off, you put it right there. Like, so they're not all over the place or on the stairs. And I mean, it's like, when my kid comes in, that's the last, like, it's everywhere but there. It could be down the hall. It could be, somehow behind the couch. It could be upstairs somewhere, like one could be. And I'm like, well, what happened? You just come in and just close your eyes and throw them?
Yeah. Well,
is that what occurred?
Well, see, but the difference with my house being, of course, is where I prefer the stuff not to be by the front door or anything. And
you want to out of sight,
right? So when they're all in the hallway, that's been my biggest gripe. Is that not necessarily that they're just put in the hallway. Make sure I can walk down the hallway without tripping. That's my main concern. I just don't want to trip over shoes. That's
Yeah. Hey, show me some respect.
Little respect
I don't want to
around
trip
here.
over any shoes, huh?
Rodney. Oh, Rodney. But
yeah, little respect.
And that's probably been, especially with this past year too, because that's the main point that I know we're really getting at with everything here is it's just not normal discipline or ways we have to handle our children in unfortunate situations. It is we've been stuck in the house with them, so the nerves are grated a little bit more. There's a few extra things happening that probably we wouldn't worry about in the old normal situation. But the way things are happening now, it's like, really, come on. We've been in this house for how long, and you're still going to put your shoes in the middle of the hallway? It's like, come on, work with me just a little bit.
You're going to throw all your clothes in, like, the side of the toilet.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why there? Of all the places, why would you throw it, like, the grossest spot sort of thing? Like, why? I don't get it. It's like kids, they're already on the next thing while they're doing something. Like their mind is just already in that other thing they need to get to. Like if I need to take a shower so that I can play that Minecraft, or something like that, or I can watch, I get 30 minutes of show before bed, then like that's what I'm going to do. So like anything else, like I'm not going to maybe shower properly. All my clothes will go to the side of the toilet or something, like whatever the case is, and for my kid, her hair will still be soaking wet. And she'll be like laying on her bed. She's dressed and she's ready for bed, but her hair's soaking wet. Just come through, and I'm like, "Did you even dry it?" I didn't have time. Like your bed, that sort of thing. Like your pillow is soaked, and you just every night it's the same.
The biggest thing that kills me about Logan right now, when you're trying to be like, well, first off, we do time limits. That's the best way we can do it without just sitting there going, just sit in front of the TV all day. We put time limits, go do something else. It doesn't even have to be a chore, to just as long as you're away from the electronics for a moment. That type of thing.
Right.
But then when he gets into watching a YouTube video or something, and it's like, hey man, you gotta go take care of this real quick. Just do this and you can come right back to your video or whatever you're doing. I can't, the video's not done. That's why there's a pause button. And he goes, no, I can't pause it. You can. He goes, no, because I'm watching it. Like, he has it so ingrained that he just can't pause a video, go do something, and then come back.
Yeah, that's unthinkable.
Yeah, it's like, no, that's the way...
Guess what? If we're
that's the way it was 30 years ago. That's not the way it is now with technology,
It's like, oh, we're going to be an hour late somewhere. If I don't pause this and get dressed or get my stuff together, then I can't. I'm watching this right now. It's happening right now. Like, well, then it'll happen later. Just hit that little, see that right there? You can always rewind. You can't rewind life, but you can rewind a movie or a video game. You can always go back.
And that's the whole thing. He knows how. It's not a, he comprehends that you can pause it. He just has it that he just can't. But he'll go back and watch the same video 5 million different freaking times. But
you know what? Every time for him, it's going to be different.
It's something new.
It's something new for whatever reason. It's not just that. It's like, but I'll tell you, I've just recently I stumbled onto those gaming videos. I don't understand watching other people play. I get like hanging out if I'm hanging out back in the day when we used to play GoldenEye and we'd have like all nighters.
Sure.
And even F.U. Hunter was there.
Oh, nice.
Usually at his place. And I mean, like all night, like that sort of thing that I could watch that sort of thing for a while. But on video, I watched a few and I was like, I mean, all right, like a lot of the gamer girls, and I was like, all right, well, you're just inappropriately dressed. I'm not going to sit here.
I mean, that's nothing.
I don't even know, like, are you supposed to be good at the game? Like, is anybody supposed to care? So I'm like, I'm swiping up, and I'm like, all right.
I basically, the ones I watch, because I'll watch most of them with Logan, is where I just watch them I make sure it's a game I've never played, so it's just like, oh, cool, there's some cool stuff in that game, but I'm never going to play it. So if I'm stuck watching the video because of whatever situation is going on, I'm going to make the best of it in my head, or just go do something else anyways. But, sometimes you are stuck there.
I will watch walkthroughs.
Well, walkthroughs...
Because, where it's just the walkthrough, not someone sitting there with their face talking to the people leaving comments the whole time. Like, if I'm just watching the walkthrough, that's cool. Hell, I wish I had that. I just watched Resident Evil, and it was... the remastered one, but it used to be one of my favorite games when I was younger. And I watched the actual walkthrough. I'm like, man, that would have been seriously helpful, when I was a kid. Like, seriously, I had to get the book. I had to go find it.
Oh, dude, and those books,
probably at Blockbuster or a bookstore.
Those books were not helpful most of the time either, because.
No, well, I mean, you didn't want to read all through that. Just show me what I need to do.
That was before screenshots were easily made also, That was...
You had to read every word. It was like an old school Dungeons and Dragons book. Like, fun game, but damn, it's to learn all that.
Maybe, maybe that's what I should do to discipline my children, is that take away the electronics and you have to play something like Dungeons and Dragons. Get them into the real old school nerdy shit.
Where they have to go into, like, their own
Exactly. This is what you get. You have to... When using your own imagination is punishment, but it's better than burning shit, I mean, I don't know. It's...
I guess all you can hope is they're like, wow, they loved it. Now they want to do that sort of, be more imaginative and not have to watch it. I mean... I fight that all the time with mine. Like my kid loves she likes to write stories, but short of that, just like any kid, and they're watching whatever videos or TV shows, and they're trying to be like, oh, that's the way to be. And it's like, no, I mean, there's other ways to be.
Exactly.
My kid loves Stranger Things. She watched it, a lot of it without my permission, with her mom. Which was fine. Like, she was still in a parent company.
Right, that's the main thing,
But, that's the main thing. But, she loves that, and she understands, like, A, it's not real, but the Dungeons and Dragons thing, I bought her for Christmas a Stranger Things Dungeons and Dragons set.
Nice.
Which we still haven't played, because I barely remember how to play it.
Right.
But, one day, maybe that's what we'll do. You do the same thing.
Yeah, because we've even got some of the games as well, where... And now we're really getting off track because we're getting into gaming and everything as well.
Well, no, not necessarily, but it's you to use the word discipline in regards to this, and it fits in nice because if it's a discipline to them at the time, the positive effect would be to them actually enjoying it and getting something positive out of it. So the discipline then turned into something positive,
and hopefully a love of something else other than what they're being disciplined for something else,
Instead of just going video game, they're thinking about something else. Their mind is shifting to something else where they can use more of their own imagination.
Yeah.
Is never
me
a bad
mentally,
thing.
I was getting away from it because I'm sitting there going, no, we've got these like fun games, like card games, certain board games and everything that would be great, but they're just, I don't want to say they're too complicated, but right now they're more intricate than just setting up a quick board game to like say play Sorry or Shoots and Ladders like with the kids or something. It's more in depth than that, but it's not. I know it's something that they could do. So yeah, that would be when the time comes, when it hits just right. That would be the time to, all right, well, this is what we're gonna do, and a great thing to do for the discipline is going. You got to beat me 2 out of 3 times, and you can go back to what you were doing.
Ooh, but does that what do you call for you if you win?
Certain chores have to be done.
Ooh, that's not bad. I tried the contract route. It kind of worked.
You've mentioned that before, and well, and like I've said, and I'm sure this was the same response I gave you. I'm not trying to have a 6-year-old sign any type of contract that would not be followed through whatsoever.
No. We definitely went over it. Yeah, we definitely gone over that before. But the whole point is that it's like in terms of disciplining, and how other parents out there do that. It's hard to judge because there's so many factors that go into it. There's so many variables and. It's also what's is it good for the home? Obviously, the more corporal bad stuff is bad. Yeah. I understand why that can do the damage it does. So, that's different. But your average parent out there just trying to make the right choices and discipline their kid properly so that they can learn from it instead of just be in, like you said, in fear. This is a hard road to go down. There's a lot of resources out there. Like I said, it was a good article. For the APA.org. So go, if you listen to this, go check it out. It was a pretty good read. Yeah. And just know that there's options. There are options. And I have to remember that myself at times. Like, I don't always have to feed into my being, feed into what they're throwing at you. Sometimes they can be upset and then you can't get to that level. Obviously, you got to rise above it and say, listen, I'm the parent. This is what's going to happen without it being a corporal situation. Exactly. There's better ways to do it.
Just remember it takes patience. All of us takes patience, and we know and this past year has probably been one of the hardest times on, how do you properly discipline your child without scarring them for life, without, giving them some type of complex. And it's difficult. It can be such a fine line for anybody. And so that's where, again, where, us here at Geekfathers, where we rely on the community, the tribe. If there's anybody you need to reach out to, whether professionally or just a shoulder to cry on, we're there, we're here, GUI is here, and there's so many better ways than the corporal route. I mean, it's...
Yeah, the corporal route is... as people, as they say, old school. Yeah. Any parent has probably at once patted their kid on the butt and said, "No, ma'am," or "No, sir," or absolutely not. Don't do that. That's not what that doesn't fall in line under corporal. Corporal is just, that's definitely more heavy-handed stuff, and it's just, and if a child's going through it, then and hopefully that they don't have to for very long. Hopefully they'll get proper help. Yeah. But, corporal punishment's definitely never been something I've been in the corner in the corner of. I'm definitely from an alternate route so that we can raise a person that doesn't need to react with the
exactly. Yeah, it's never fun, and there have been not even corporal punishment, so to say, but there's been even other punishments where I feel bad for what I've had to do. And if I were to have to strike a child, or I say have to, you don't have to, obviously, but if it were to strike a child for the same thing, I'd be hurting myself. That really would be I'd be just cringing so badly on, the way there have been a couple times where I've just raised my voice too much and been like, I'm sorry, I should not have done that. I apologize for raising my voice. Yeah. I'm not going to apologize for what needs to be done correcting the situation, though. With talking,
and
roll from there.
Listen, I love you. I raised my voice, but, Dad, sorry for scaring you, or,
Exactly.
Whatever the case is. But I'm still going to take away your laptop. I'm still going to take away your tablet, and, when you have a better attitude, then we can come back to it,
Definitely talk about it.
But,
and
if you're a parent, you don't ever raise your voice, then more power to you. I don't know a parent in the world that hasn't
at least once. I mean, it could be it could be within a lifetime, but at least one time. There's any parent I know of at least one time.
So, unless certain extremes or disabilities, that where you can't, if you can't speak or scream.
Oh well, sure, yeah. I mean,
short of that, I don't think that there's any parent that, at age.
Yeah.
I mean, my mom still yells at me sometimes, I'm like, I'm a grown man, but as soon as she yells at me, I'm like, all right.
Oops, sorry. Oops. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep,
without a doubt. I mean, my mom still has that rule of I've got you type, that type of thing. Yeah. So it is what it is. And everybody's going to be different, guys. It's, if you feel like you're unsure of something, I always say research, science, please use science, use proper method, get some feedback, whatever it may be. So, and especially right now, it wears thin. It really does. So guys, just be cautious. And that's why we wanted to do this episode where I know we've always said stuff in passing with the other episodes, but it was really great that we were able to bring this up because it really has hit that line now of doing this for over a year officially. And I can only imagine the wit's end that some people have reached well before this, including myself on a couple things. So, I mean...
Yeah, cheers to all the parents still going.
That's right.
Or still going, as strong as you can go.
And...
Yeah, and to all the kids, they're dealing with it too, so...
Very, very true. So, guys, just remember a little bit of any extra patience you can fork out. If you do need to discuss anything, of course, feel free to reach out to us. Reach out in social media, the email. Let's see if I remember our email correctly. I believe it is still the Geekfather podcast, GUI@gmail.com. So even if it's a little bit more personal, guys, we're still here. Feel free to email us. We're all over Facebook, still the Twitter at Geekfather1, at Geekfather the number 1, and of course, listen here, get some ideas. Even if you just listen to this episode and it helps you feel better, you don't even need to talk to anybody. We've done our job as fellow parents.
Yes, and also remember that no matter how heavy it gets, now that we can, go outside for even 20 minutes. Just go for a walk. Go for a walk with your kids. Go for a walk without your kid, as long as they're kids or as long as they're safe and taken care of. Go for a walk around the neighborhood.
Get that sunshine, get the fresh air, all of it. I know, and the pollen sucks,
with
but
your kid too.
Suck it up with that right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna deal with that, every year until you die. That's just the way it is. It's the circle of life. But we need it, and pollen is necessary.
Unfortunately, so yes, you are correct.
But that, I digress. If you can, go to the park with your kid, do something, let them run it around, let them get it out. The house can, no matter how big your house is or small, it's restriction. It can be restricting.
Yeah, very much, guys. So, you heard it here, guys. We're here. Hopefully, this. Like I said, even if you just listen to the episode and gives you a little bit of relief, just knowing that you're not the only one out there dealing with this, we're here. But, of course, listen to the episode, listen to our other friends in GY, go to, here's the usual spout at this point I will give you. Guys, of course, check out all the episodes, not only on Spotify and iTunes and all that, but, of course, at www.guypodcast.com. All the episodes. Click on the link, go see our friends over at TeePublic, grab some merch while you're at it. And we're still working together. Just remember, we'll continue, and I know I'll forget at one point, but for now, remember we have Mason's Toy Box that we still support, that we still want to make sure we give shout-outs to whenever. Still keeping tab on Team Kimber, my homies down at the Virginia Beach area. There have been some changes, but things are still looking more positive than negative at this point, so positive vibes all around there, and things are starting to come back to somewhat of a normalcy, guys, but still be careful, still wash your hands, still wear the mask, get vaccinated when possible. Even if you
can literally walk in anywhere.
It is so readily available, and even if in the off chance if you listen to our show knowing where we stand on so much and you still don't technically believe in vaccinations, go get it anyways. I know so many people that haven't always agreed with certain things, but they're still doing things for the better of the people. And that's what we're here to do, it's all the one tribe, the one community, guys. We're all a family. So just be safe, watch out for others. And don't forget,
join us
or cry.
In a world ravaged by movie studios that keep rehashing the same things, only one podcaster has the guts to make it even worse. Join Mike the Hobbit as he traverses the internet to bring you some of the best and worst ideas for reboots, remakes, and reimaginings of some of your favorite and least favorite TV and film properties. Ideas like a John Waters He-Man movie, Fantastic Four the musical, and Aliens, done entirely with marionettes. What podcast would bring this evil upon the world? This is Smack My Pitch Up. Available anywhere you get your podcasts.
GUIPodcast.com